Huh? Do you have your mic on? I can't hear you.
Hey guys, welcome. We are going live now. Just let me know if you can hear us, guys. So we are all set up. Hi Grzegorz, I see that Przemek is here, Katarzyna, Mikolai, all the guys are getting started. Just let us know if you can hear us, so we know that the stream is going well.
I can hear
Nice.
you, Romeo.
Great.
I
Hi,
can hear you
Tom.
twice. I can hear you here and here.
Great. So here's Tom. Tom is our new partner. He's joining us from Krakow. He came here in Krakow like a few years back. Tom, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are so we can get to know you a little bit better before we go and to dive into the whole project.
Sure. Thank you, Romeo. I'm Tom. I'm new here at Man Digital, a partner. Come from originally Los Angeles, moved here to Krakow a couple years ago, and I'm a real sort of email CRM marketing automation nerd. Same as Romeo. That's how we kind of got connected, and we're just kind of excited to start doing projects together like this. So.
Great. Thanks a lot. Guys, let us know where you are guys coming from, so we understand also all the guys, which countries, which cities you are coming in from. There might be a delay from the moment we ask something because that's how the streaming will work. But just let us know if there are any questions in the chat in Crowdcast. We will also have some surveys, some polls, so we will be able to actually connect with you guys more interactively. So, Tom, if you have any housekeepings for us, let us know. We also have. I forgot something, Tom. I forgot to.
Yes, are we?
We are making some applauses for you for joining us for the
Yeah,
first time.
we're a little late on the facts. Yeah.
So I can share. I can share the screen, or you can just start right
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah. Do you want me to get up into present mode so you can
Yes,
get
please.
your
Yeah,
set up?
that would be great. Yeah, you're on.
We're on, so you can see my screen now.
Correct.
So thanks everyone for registering. When when we marketed this, I thought it was a great idea to call it "How to Run the Perfect B2B Webinar." But now that we're actually doing it, it kind of puts a little pressure on us, Romeo. So we might want to consider retitling to something a little less stressful, like the pretty good B2B webinar. Almost perfect. The almost perfect. We should put in a little check mark.
Of
Uh,
course.
so as everyone's getting ready, we wanted to do a quick poll, little icebreaker. Now that it's, October almost, 2020, we all live on planet Zoom and are pretty much living in video conferencing for half the day. So I thought it'd be good to poll what everyone thinks is the most distracting Zoom audio background noise that we have to deal with when we get on a call with, at a minimum of like, it seems if you get 4 or 5 people, somebody's going to have one of these problems, right? Somebody's in the car, so you've got just the, or you've got the guy clacking on the keyboard, or you've just got general, you've got like background office chatter, people doing sales calls. Between those three, what for you? We haven't discussed this beforehand, Romeo. Which of these do you think is just kind of the most like ah?
Yeah, we will have a delay between the responses. So I will get back to you and tell you what are the responses because the streaming systems have a lag of few seconds.
Yeah, sure. Well, what's your least favorite?
Like The open office chatter for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I it's between that for me and the car, because the car sound never goes away. Um, I don't know. I would agree with you probably though, because the chatter, just because it's so, it goes up and down, and yeah, see, I agree. Well, let me know when we get, let us know when we get the poll answers. I'll go over our housekeeping tips right now. So here, it's important when you're kind of doing these webinars, a good best practice. Everyone kind of is going to ask the same questions, so you may as well deflect them and answer them out of the gate. So yeah, we're going to email you the slides so you don't have to sit there and screen cap and scribble a million notes. We're recording it. You'll get a link to a recording so you can watch it later if you need to skip out. And at the end, we're going to send a little survey so you can tell us how hopefully amazing and almost perfect we did of a job doing this webinar.
Cool.
And then for sticking around, we're gonna have this kid. I did find the best picture of a cheater. This little kid is we're gonna have a cheat sheet. Download PDF. Romeo, I think maybe you can kind of. I don't know if you're gonna. I can't see the magic. Romeo's got a huge
Yeah, yeah. I can
setup.
show you.
Right.
I can show you here what's the
Yeah.
whole PDF all about, but I can have also some kind of uh, party noise thing because this is the actual PDF that will help you a lot while you will prepare your webinars. And we have here all the things around how to set it up, how to promote your webinars, how to actually do the live presentations, and then all the post webinar actually checklists, right? So we will give you the link at the end of the presentation. Just wait for it, and you can just have that as soon as this webinar ends. So we got you
Yeah.
covered. Back to
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Tom.
Back to me. All right, let's just quickly, this will be the most text probably we'll show you during the presentation, but want to run down the agenda so you know what's coming. We're going to hit 8 key areas. We're going to see how to choose a topic, some tips around that, what the recommended structure is for how to, sequence your presentation. We are going to demystify the black box that is webinar tech stack, and it needs demystification. We're going to go over what marketing assets you're going to need to create around this whole sort of ecosystem, and then how to promote it. And then we're going to get into running the live webinar, which is what we're doing right now, and talk to you a little bit about setting up your offer, like we just kind of had our little offer right here, and give you some tips to lay down that post-webinar strategy. So it's a lot to cover. We would be great, to go really in depth into all of these, but they can all pretty much be their own 1 hour presentation. So we try to hit a lot of the high level, big aha takeaway moments that, you'll be sort of, writing down and putting a star next to. Hopefully we give you a few of those in the next hour. And, otherwise, we're ready to kind of get into it. We do have, though, before Romeo, we did our little intro, but now, you want to kind of go over quickly? Maybe we'll each do 30 seconds here and then jump into it.
Yeah, sure. So definitely, I'm a huge passionate, like a practitioner, sorry, around learning and development. And while I made Man Digital, my vision was to not only do digital services or sales and marketing services, but in the same time teach people on how to run it on their own. So I might be sales and marketing guy, but by heart, I am definitely a learning and development practitioner. So this is why we are sharing all this information and giving all this good knowledge out there, so you can do it also on your own. Tom?
Right on. And then I'm Tom. First of all, it pained me to type 20 plus years of experience when I saw you at 10 plus. So And I had to do a little math, but it's for sure. There's a 20 and then a few extra. So I've been in digital direct response marketing going back to, my first campaigns were direct mail, print, but pure DR. I've been doing that for a while. Love it. Like I said, from Los Angeles, so most of my experience is the U.S. market with U.S. clients. And as I said before, yeah, huge fan of just email, marketing automation. That whole world is just really fun to me. All right, Romeo, do we have the numbers in on our poll for the most annoying, distracting
Yeah,
Zoom?
definitely is the
What do we
car
have?
noise. Car
Car
noise.
noise,
Yeah. We have that
by
one
far.
on. So if you guys are on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube Live just now, if you want to join us and put us question and actively participate in the stream, just go on crowdcast.io/Romeo, and there you can actually join the live webinar. So
All right.
yeah, Tom, car
All
noise.
right. Car noise. All right. It was a toss up for me between car noise and the office chatter. So I believe it. All right. Well, away we go here. Our first section is going to be on how to choose your topic. Um, Now, really, what it comes down to is before you even do that, just figure out what type of webinar are you going to put on. And we kind of bucket it into three main areas, right? You've got that sales, infomercial, info marketing, buy my product course webinars that are very clearly geared towards making someone perform a purchase action at the end. You guys are probably all in the marketing world, so your feeds are probably filled up with all sorts of these folks promoting the webinars, and it's, that might be the type of webinar you're doing. It's great. It's not kind of the type of webinar we're doing right now. We're doing three, which we'll get to. The next is the purely educational. And so, Romeo, you kind of do a lot of these in past Man Digital. I don't know if you want to kind of just chat a little bit about that structure, but the one where you are using the webinar to, kind of give yourself more of a thought leadership role, and you're presenting material in a way that it puts you in an authority position, and you're furthermore using a guest speaker who perhaps has some pedigree. They come from Amazon or they come from Zendesk or wherever. There's that type of webinar, and I do want to speak
Yeah.
kind of a little bit to what you guys have done in the past.
Yeah, so definitely we use that opportunity to go in and invite that authority speakers, like we had Revolut, we had Romain, who is in this actual webinar when he's from French for Tech. So we had also different kind of other agencies. So one would say, don't invite your competition into webinars. No, we did that with NNC, with Loredana, who had really great case studies on how they expanded in the US. So we took that know-how and that community and partnership to actually build up the brand of Man Digital and associate Man Digital with a with an agency that it's educating the community. And because of these guest speakers, it was then later on much easier to pitch new speakers, right? So they were coming in because we were telling them, hey, we had someone from Salesforce, maybe you guys from HubSpot, who is your competitors, or from Drift, which are in the same space, you want to talk to our audience. So that's what we were using when it comes to the educational, or this hybrid also type of webinars.
Yeah, which is kind of what we're doing now, right? So we're using this hybrid model to present content, right? So educational content, so you guys can kind of understand, all right, if we're thinking about putting on webinars, here's a good starting point, best practices, how to do it. And then we're finishing off, of course, with like a little lead gen kicker, right? We want to use this as a way, to kind of build our own sales funnel. But in a manner that we're also giving something back to our audience. And when it comes to choosing what topic you want to talk about and structure your webinar around, and this is true of any content you put together, blog post, email campaign, whatever, is you want to figure out what question is my customer always asking. What do they want to know? And if you can answer it, you're going to attract an audience, right? It's just human nature. This really isn't, I kind of live with this is the no duh questions to ask. It's kind of those things that are obvious, but you need to see them in front of you before to force you to think about them. But a great way is if you and your team just take half a day to go through some of your analytics. Okay, what pages are most trafficked on our site? Blog posts. What's our best performing email campaign? What's our best performing shared on LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. Right? You just kind of start analyzing a little bit. You might know this already kind of intuitively, but to look it up and then rank it and kind of put them all together, that's going to help you really brainstorm some of that. There could also be a case where, depending on your industry, there's just stuff that's in trend right now that people want to know about. So kind of right now for us, webinars with everyone kind of working from home, with now this sort of huge behavioral shift where people are now like normal kind of people who are less digital savvy are now using video conferences and things like that. It makes webinars a lot more popular and a lot more interesting. So if you have any trends that aren't kind of totally played out yet, that's always a good area to focus on. Now let's dig into our structure, how to build the presentation. This is going to be simple 8-step main chapters of your webinar. One, we've kind of gone through this, right? We introed with a poll. We started with a little bit of poll. That's good to build a little engagement. You can have it be something kind of fun and light like we did. You can have it be something that is actually going to provide you with useful information about your audience. It's up to you. Always want to hit that housekeeping, right? To let people know, head it off. So half of your chat isn't asking, are you recording this? Or are you going to send us the slides? And then tease the offer if you have one. Hit up the agenda, tell them what you're going to say, right? And then tell them who's going to say it, who the speakers are. And then 5, here we are. We're in step 5 right now. We are presenting. Now you sort of say all the stuff you said you were going to say. Then you need to summarize that at the end, all the key highlights as to what you talked about. And you, assuming you're kind of doing a hybrid where you're going to have a type of offer, you want to have your call to action, and then your Q&A. So, those 8 steps are, if you kind of just follow that loose structure, you're probably better off than, maybe 75–80% of the people who just sit down and decide they're going to do a webinar now. Okay, all right. So Romeo, this is Romeo's spot here, the webinar tech stack. So here you go, Romeo. I'm going to let you dig into your slides here.
Thanks. So what we have here is actually the webinar software. Now, obviously, this will depend on your internet connection. Unfortunately, we also have some internet connections here, so if you can see some lagging, that might happen. But because you use a good webinar software, the recording and all the stream will be in HD, so you will be able to set it up correctly. Now, I don't want to go in a lot of detail which webinar software to use because in my view, it all depends on integrating with the marketing automation system. So if you have a good marketing automation system and the webinar integrates natively with the system, then choose that particular platform. I also added here the platforms that you can just look and actually compare all these webinar stacks. So that's that. And in the next slide, we are having the how we are using it. So all the presentation now it goes through Ecamm. This is Mac only. So we have these different overlays that we can choose, different kind of sound, so on and so forth that we put in our webinar. Now, this actually streams it to this platform called Restream, which it has different features. The number one feature is to multi-stream it. And we choose this because it's one of the only options to multi-stream it to LinkedIn Live. So we want to make sure our webinar it's also streamed in LinkedIn. And I really suggest you guys apply for because it's still beta from LinkedIn. You need to apply, fill in an application, and see if they approve your your LinkedIn Live. Now, from there, we are using Crowdcast. We are using Crowdcast for the whole, you know, mm, chatting and also the polls and the call to actions that we have. So that's there. In the next slide, we are talking a little bit about.
About the hardware, but I just wanted to say before we get into the hardware, because
Mhm.
this was my first time as we were preparing this morning for this webinar, seeing the setup in place with the Ecamm and Restream, and someone who's just kind of put on webinars myself in the past using like a GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, Zoom webinar type stuff, which is probably what the majority of people kind of use. This is great. Like it was crazy, right? It's like being in like a video production truck. It's cool stuff.
Yeah. What we if we go back again now.
Yeah.
There are a lot of debates here, guys. I know, and it all depends on your internet connection. Unfortunately, today we had some issues here at Hubron with the internet connection. Nevertheless, if with Restream, what you can do is that you can re-upload the whole webinar. So for example, if now in Crowdcast you might see some lags and because of the whole internet connection, what happens is that Ecamm records all this presentation into the Mac. Then in Restream we can upload it and um, make it available on all these platforms again in HD quality. That means that the recording has absolutely no lags and you can use it for evergreen webinars. And this is the key, to use the whole uh, educational webinar also as a recording too. Another really great feature that we have here is the fact that you can pre-record it and then upload it in Restream and make it seem that is live. It's a little bit of faking, but you will see a lot of companies and a lot of summits nowadays do this method where they pre-record everything so they don't go live what we did, because going live it's always has its advantages and disadvantages. One of the disadvantages in this whole internet thing, if you pre-record it and upload it again, that's the perfect webinar that you can have, but you will not have that interaction with your audience. So yeah, you can. Yeah, so when it comes to, and this is all optional, to have good mics, like a Rode. We use a Rode
Yeah, this is a
NT70.
snowball. I know it's
Yeah,
popular.
the snowball from
Yeti. Yeah.
Yeti. Yeah, and then you have these ring lights. Plus, we have on Mac this Epoch Cam, which we are using now. So that's why you have this quite good quality here. So yeah, that's one of the options. If we can go next.
Oh, all right. We've got our first pop. We've got our first pop quiz.
Woo!
So get your yeah. I just hadn't thought of the movie Speed in probably 15 years. So it was good to do a little Google image searching. All right. So what do we think is the industry average webinar attendance rate? 15, 22, or 37%. So I know we're going to have our delay lag, but I'll give everyone kind of a chance here to. They're already voting. All right, so good. So 15, 22, 37. So the voting started. I will reveal the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is 37%. So it's actually pretty high, close to 40%. I hadn't seen the numbers. I don't have the webinar software in front of me. Can you do math in your head close to what we have today, Romeo? We're around 37.2. Perfect. That's great. Yeah, everyone's screen. Do you know what we had for our own webinar today? Around 30%. All right. All right, now let's get into promotion. So this section here could be pretty, again, this could be 2 hours of how to promote. But one of the keys is just to kind of start it up early. About 4 weeks is good. You could even go a little further upstream if you want to tease, and then go late, right? Like go to, the last second, right? Because it's not, it's one of those things that it's all timing. If somebody doesn't have a meeting coming up and they go, oh, sure, this sounds like an interesting webinar, I'll go. Like just keep promoting. Can't hurt. Here's a by no means exhaustive list of the ways that you can do your promotion for the webinar, starting with the free, well, mostly free, right? Indirect cost with your email, but emailing to your audience, promoting it on your website. A great overlooked area, especially if you get ahead of it, is the email signature. If you just can kind of put a little banner on your email signature so that that's going out, for a month to every person your team is contacting with, you're gonna pick up plenty of registrants that way. You can be blogging, obvious stuff like your social profile, updating that, doing social sharing. Partnerships is a great one if you're doing like a substantial webinar, to find people in your industry that can kind of cross promote your content if it's relevant to their audience as well. That's a fantastic way to drive more registration. And again, going back to the website, especially if you're using a tool like HubSpot that makes it super easy. If you just put a pop-up, with just a little pop-up modal where a simple registration form in it, that's dynamite. From the paid point of view, there's nothing here that is like, oh my God, yeah, but it's just the basic stuff, right? You can be doing Google search, display, text, your typical paid social. If you're doing that, retargeting is a must. Partnerships, there's paid as well, right? You can just sort of pay to play to have somebody send an email to promote your webinar. That's, I've done that plenty, and that's a great tactic. And cold email outreach, getting like very popular in the last few years with a lot of tools that facilitate it that we'll touch on. But if you can get a list and use one of these cold outreach tools to just start some conversations and get some registrations, that's another really strong way to approach it. All of that said, email is still without a doubt kind of the top dog. It's about 2 times as effective as the next best channel, and generally about 70% of your signups are going to end up coming from your house list that you're emailing to. This is what we recommend kind of as a best practice cadence of how to email. You can do a little more than this, especially if you start further out, but you've got your initial invite at about 4 weeks, and then do a reminder around 1 week out, second reminder, 1 or 2 days before, and then your last reminder the morning of. So, if you stick to that, I frankly believe in the B2B world, people get so much email, you can even add a little more without worrying about fatigue and annoying people. So if you want to add in, 1, 2, 3 more touches in a 4 or 5 week window, I don't think that's excessive. And you definitely want to, as you're doing the email, to mix it up. Do a little A/B testing, try some things, resend to people who aren't opening. I alluded to the cold emails before. If you want to be doing some cold email outreach, here's just a couple of popular tools: Lemlist, Gmail, some of these you've probably heard of. Interseller is one that we use that we like, and Woodpecker. But if you just go on G2 or somewhere and start reviewing, you'll see there's plenty of these. And the key will be choose the one. Functionally, they're all pretty similar, but what you want to do is use the one that's going to work best with whatever system you have in place. This is no real big surprise when you're going to be doing social promotion, is to stick to really the big three. It's probably in the order of, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. That's where you want to be doing most of your promotion. And if you don't do this already, lookalike audience is a great way. I mean, it's a little similar. I'm A/B testing this photo. This is something you definitely want to do, right? So you can take your customer prospect list and upload that into Facebook and LinkedIn. And so if it's a large enough list, you can market directly to those people, and then you can create a lookalike audience that's going to kind of clone them. And that's a great shortcut to reach the exact type of people you want to target on social platforms. Again, it's a lot of people are probably aware of this, but for the people who aren't, it's a hugely effective tactic. And then if you're going to be doing social, we highly recommend creating a teaser video. And so Romeo shot one of these for us, and it was about 60 seconds, hyping up the webinar and the content. And what you can then do is use that either on your landing page, thank you page, or you can ideally chop it up a little bit and use those videos as part of your social campaign promotion, right? Because video still has much higher pull through than most other types of content on these platforms. So you can kind of create a lot of material for yourself by just shooting 1 to 2 minute teaser and then editing it down to like 2 to 3 things that you can use throughout your marketing campaign. Now let's kind of get into the different assets that you'll be using to run all of this marketing. Here is probably the most important part, right? The landing page. I think we had a pretty solid landing page out of the gate, so I used this. These are kind of the major areas you want to tick off. You're going to want to have a clear title, right? For the page where you restate the webinar content, the value claim. You're going to, of course, let people know about the date and the duration, how long the webinar is going to be. Like, some of this stuff sounds like so obvious, but as in doing kind of a lot of like research and looking at things, like, it's amazing. I've seen like webinar pages where they don't have when it is on the landing page, right? So these are the boxes you need to tick. You want the hosts. You should have a photo, make it more engaging. Have short copy and then benefit bullets. If I were to critique our page at all, I would say maybe we could have cut the copy, a little bit, moved the benefit bullets up so people can see the benefits first and support it with the copy. But and then the form itself is very important, right? We recommend as little information as possible to capture, right? Just kind of name and email is great. That's going to have the highest number of conversions. Depending on what type of webinar, though, and what your business is like, you might want to have some optional qualifying questions, just 1, 2 max, where you're asking people, just some light questions that helps you understand their profile better and how they fit into your ideal customer profile matrix. And then one kind of cool other thing that you can do, which we did on ours, is to add some business email verification on the form. So this like validates the business email, right? So this is cool. It will kick out if you're trying to put in like a Gmail, Yahoo or something email, and it will only accept business domains. That's you got to take the good with the bad with that. So the good is that you're going to be getting highly qualified email addresses who are coming into your funnel. but the bad is you're going to be sacrificing some of the conversion numbers because you're going to have people who are just using their Gmail instead of their business email, and then they just give up or they don't want to give you their business email. But I don't know, in a way you're kind of pre-qualifying them. So it depends on your business, your use case, what you're looking to do with the webinar and who you want to attract. But that's definitely something you should take into consideration.
Yeah, here we really bumped up our open rates and click-through rates when we decided to implement this in Man Digital. So all the forms that we have, I'm talking about ebooks, contact forms, you name it, are verified. So that's one thing that it verified it that email exists, so you don't have bounce rates, and also you kick out all the personal emails. So if you are interested in B2B, and we are not doing anything around B2C, so
Yeah, exactly.
the only thing we require is that you are giving us the valid data so that later on we can start a conversation with you.
Exactly. And then this is always good from a conversion point of view, if the landing page technology that you're using allows you to create a modal, so it's just the save my seat button and then you get the modal pop up with email, first name, whatever. That's always, obviously test it, but that's a great way to do it. It saves real estate on your landing page for one, and it makes for a nice conversion path. Next, you kind of want to decide when you're doing your emails is do you want to go more text route? So the emails that you received, you saw they were much more, this kind of echoes a little bit the intercom format where it's text. It's obviously HTML, but it's text based. You could just do straight up plain text. A lot of info marketers, just live and die by plain text. Again, depends on your audience though. You could also do a traditional route of an HTML email. Kind of just depends on your brand, how you want to be presenting yourself, who the audience is that you're talking to, what you think they'll respond to. But it's an important decision for you to think about when you're creating these promotional emails. In general, your email shopping list, everything that you're going to want to put together are your invites, of course. So both the warm to your email prospect customer list and the cold that we were sort of showing you about if you do a little prospecting and use one of these tools to try to bring strangers into your funnel. You're next going to be dealing with a series of post-registration drips, right? So these are kind of your reminders, and this will either be in your marketing automation system or potentially in your webinar platform if it has that functionality. And then there's the post-webinar drip, right? And so what that sequence will be is you're going to be sending, like we said up front, you're going to promise to give people the recording and the slides, right? So you include that there. You send out a survey. For the people who download your content, you need to have your thanks for downloading email. And then you can layer in a few others depending on how you want to approach your sales process with these people who registered. You can put in a few more touch points in that post-webinar drip. Hey, we're just checking in, etc. Would you like to schedule a meeting? All that traditional B2B one-to-one marketing stuff. And one great kind of piece of tech advice is to get widgeted with it. So we do this on our thank you page. So Romeo's like a marketing tech savant, right? Like I thought like I was the marketing tech geek, but I started working with Romeo and he's always finding these like new cool things like this Adaptable app, right? Where you just plug it in, you've got this thank you page. Most people just think of thank you page as just like, let's just do a thank you page. But you can use that, right? You've got these people, they're in a moment where they've just agreed to do something, they've taken action, and most people just then present them with this really passive, thanks, we'll see you, on this date. Real estate, right? Where you can, why not take advantage of people who are now in a heightened state, give them a link to this little widget, let them put this in their calendar right away. yeah, that's going to be most likely in your autoresponder for the registrant from your software. But why not have a moment right here where they can do it as well? So you're for sure to get in their calendar, and then you can pick up potentially some ready to go leads by embedding in a this is a HubSpot, event, little embed, right? The same thing as Calendly. We've all seen these a million times, but just drop that in and see if somebody wants to have a quick 15-minute call before your webinar. It's a great way to get some low-hanging fruit, and only takes, what, in 2 minutes, Romeo, to kind of, put that in the landing page, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, um, I really recommend this method because you can just make sure that people add it to their calendar. And this is the obvious thing, right? Like always think about webinars. What's the obvious next step? So if I invite someone to an event, I want to make sure that I send them a calendar invite. So if we would have a meeting, and we would talk in a, I don't know, meetup or in a one-to-one call, or you name it, I would send you an invite. So that's the thing that we want to add to our webinars, and I always like to do it this way, that it's like a live approach, is like human to human. So that's why I'm not a big fan of pre-recorded webinars, because even if the tech is not with you, still I want to have that human to human connection. So this is why we are doing this kind of um, thank you pages and this kind of communication. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Hey, this is great. I forget where I put the pop quizzes in the presentation, but
Wait,
we've
wait,
got one
because I
more.
have this DJ horn in
Okay,
audio,
okay,
so
hold
be
on, hold
prepared.
on.
Be prepared for
Let's
this
go. All
one.
right, all right. Come back ready. Okay, so here we go. Here's the next slide.
Okay, so let's see this results for this one. Let me put it on. So the pop quiz. What's the question?
Question is, what
Question.
weekday,
Monday or Friday? Yeah.
Monday, Friday, least prefer? 50-50. What do people least prefer to do webinars? Monday, where they're just dragging, or is it Friday?
Something's happening with your audio. 1 second, because I cannot hear you well.
You can't.
Uh, Yeah. So the question is,
How's that?
what
Yeah.
weekday do people least prefer for a webinar? So Monday or Friday, yeah? So
All right.
guys, go in and you can start answering the question. I couldn't hear you well, but
Is my audio back?
no, not really. It's something is bugging,
Should
at
I
least from my side.
reconnect? Yeah.
Yeah. So
How's that?
no, it's the same.
No. No.
So it's like a robot, you know?
Uh, all right. You want me to reconnect on Skype or no?
Now it's getting better, so
It's getting better. It's
I
good.
think it's the internet connection.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we ready for the answer? What do you think it is, Roma? Do you remember? Did you even see it? Do you know?
I, I would say people want to run away on Friday.
That's correct. People want to run away on Friday. Exactly right.
Yeah. So people say Monday.
Yeah?
Yeah, at least here I can see Monday. Monday is more than Friday, yeah.
Yeah. No. No. Statistically, it's the Fridays is the least attended. People might say Monday, but really Friday they don't show up.
Uh-huh.
So all right. So now let's get into our live webinar. Is my audio doing a little better?
Yes, your audio is better.
Okay, cool. All
People
right.
were saying here that the audio was not good. So now it's
Okay.
better.
Well, wait. Perfect timing for the on-air portion of our. our thing. So some basic tips. We've kind of split this with the standing and sitting. We only had enough real estate for one person to stand, but standing, you're kind of just a little bit. Your diaphragm is, you're projecting more. You have a little more energy. It's harder to slouch when you're standing, so that's good. You've got your guest presenters, especially if you've got somebody from an outside company. Really pump them up. Engage people with polls and quizzes, and then just try to have like clean design, few words, keep things as visual as possible. You obviously need words, right, at some point, like screens like this, but try to avoid, 10 bullets at, 14-point font, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then prepare, rehearse, and test. So this is especially when you start using new technology. You want to get familiar with your content. You don't want to just put your presentation together and then wait till the day of the webinar to look at it again and then just go, right? So just make sure you do that. You don't have to overdo it, but just don't be too casual about it.
Yeah, sometimes if you cannot test the internet, unfortunately. So it depends if you want to be brave and you want to do it all live with all these slides and so on and have this issue with the internet, or you want to pre-record it. So it's you never know. And the issue is now, to be honest, is that these tools like Zoom and all the platforms are really, really overused, right? So their servers is also an issue, because you might have issues with your own internet, but then the streaming
Exactly.
servers might have issues. So this is something that you need to be really aware of, especially now in COVID times. Now this is a proof of that.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, we tested everything this morning and we're like perfectly great and fine. But as soon as we take it live, to Romeo's point, once you get up on someone else's server streaming the video, you have no idea. Especially when you're doing, you're following best practices. If you're doing webinars like we are at the time you should be doing them, a lot of people are doing the same thing. So one note here, this is kind of an important unintuitive one, is that it's okay to kind of go long, right? So we're at, we'll be wrapping up kind of pretty close to on time, it looks like. But, if you get to your Q&A, like right towards the end, don't kind of freak out and get everyone off and, oh, we're sorry. Because those people who are with you at the end, those are the most engaged people, right? Those are the people who've sat with you through this whole presentation. They like your content. They're interested. Don't cut the conversation off with those folks, right? Those people want to keep asking questions. Absolutely.
And they got along with the audio or streaming issues that you might have,
Yeah.
right?
Right, exactly. So those are the folks that, a lot of people will think, okay, we're at the hour, we got to wrap it up. But, there's no need for that. And we might kind of see that here, right, where we wrap up with a few minutes before Q&A, and then we spend another, 10, 15 minutes or whatever with everyone answering whatever questions come up. This is important, depending on your software. For millennials, that's a VCR, and our Gen Zers, I guess, right? I guess maybe for Anastasia, our Gen Z producer, that's a VCR and a cassette tape. And so, yeah, don't forget to record. If you're using some of this advanced software like us, of course, it's all going to do it for you. But if you're using, if you're starting out with a GoToMeeting, Zoom webinar, you don't want to get halfway through and go, whoa, just record. And a good way to do that, just get in a little early, give yourself time, a little bit of buffer, go through your checklist. Checklists are huge. Romeo was just giving a sermon on checklists this morning. You want to have them and that, have that on it, and so you don't forget. And then run the same webinar twice is a great thing to do. Running the same webinar twice is a great thing to do, because what it does is it gives you the ability to One, accommodate different times. The number one reason that people don't attend a webinar isn't because they're not interested in the content. It's they look at their calendar and they go, oh crap, I now have a meeting with my CEO. I can't go to this webinar. That's okay, it's recorded. I'll just watch the recording, but I'll actually never end up doing that either. So if you run it twice, you kind of give them the option to, work around their schedule. But then also from your point of view, it gives you a chance to sort of revise some of your content potentially based on feedback or based on some of the experiences you're having with your setup. You can make some tweaks. So there's a lot of advantages to doing everything twice.
And
And
also you could solve the internet issues, right? So next
right,
time you don't go, you go on a mobile LTE, right? So you don't rely on your Wi-Fi, or maybe you will do a pre-recording of the webinar and then you put it on.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly,
so you
right.
do an hybrid one, right? That you could just pre-record everything, like we could do that, and then we are just actually looking into the chat, and all the questions are answered in the chat, which we will not
Mm-hmm.
do now, but that's another method to do it, that you don't address the questions in the webinar because yeah, it's pre-recorded obviously, but you will answer it in the chat.
Right. Good point. So then the three big mistakes that people end up making are too promotional. Right, it depends. If you're doing what we showed you that first, right, a sales promotional one, you can be more promotional, but you still don't want to be too promotional, right? You want to give people something. And people go too wordy, right? This goes back to trying to limit, the word count and what you put on screen. So even here, there's words, right? But we're using big, chunky display fonts and, not just simple default number bullets. We've got colorful bullets, right? So there's a way to take words and just dress them up to look less wordy. And then another one is that people tend to make it very one-sided. Instead of a dialogue, it's a monologue, and there's not enough action, there's not enough interactivity with the audience, and then it just kind of becomes, yeah, it's like you're watching somebody on stage instead of, kind of being part of a conversation. The one of, I guess, probably, from a lead generation point of view, this is our right. If we're putting on our webinars to try to, improve our sales funnel, this is the most critical element, right? The offer. So end your webinar with a very clear call to action, no ambiguity, no, make it very easy. Cue people up so they know what to expect beforehand, that they know there's something at the end of the tunnel and that they're primed to take action. And then make sure that it's something that's, it's good quality and related to the content. You're not just recycling something you've already produced. It's like, oh, great, well, let's just put this ebook that has kind of something to do with it. That's not going to excite people. Right, like if you were to just do a white paper, what you want is stuff that's active. Active is good. You've got people who want to learn. They're on this webinar. You're educating them. They've already taken action to register for a webinar. They've shown interest in the topic. So give them a something of substance, like a worksheet, checklist, cheat sheets. Templates are awesome. If you've got some type of service where you can be offering somebody, a template for, a presentation, or a, Excel template that includes some sophisticated, formulas that they can use to calculate lifetime value of ARR customers, right? Like, that's awesome. Anything that plays into, people who've already pre-selected themselves as showing you that they're willing to take action and do things. Give them an active offer. Don't give them a passive offer of, a 10-page white paper, or just, recycle the content of your webinar in a new package, right? So it's like, we kind of, like, I say that, we kind of do this with a cheat sheet, but the cheat sheet is in a way where it's not just a repeat of everything, everything's organized. You can see, okay, at each stage, here are like the top things I should keep track of, and you can check them off and so forth, right? So there's a little bit of an active bias to it. And then, so here, is a great way to sort of insta generate some sales ready leads. So before you get into your actual offer, there's a great way to do that, and that is to just use the polling software. Just ask people, again, these people who've sat through the whole webinar at this point, just say, hey, who wants to have a one-on-one conversation with us about this, right? About whatever the topic is that you're talking about. And now the people who are saying yes when that poll comes up, like that's essentially now a sales ready lead, right? That's somebody who's like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm interested in learning about this type of payroll software that's going to help me to convert currency. Sure, yeah. We have a problem with that, and they want to now. You're going to have a meeting with them. That's what everyone wants, right? So you're creating a really frictionless, easy way to do that by using these polls. Most webinar software is going to allow you to do that polling. If not, you can use this Slido is the website. There's a link to it, I think, in the cheat sheet, and it's a good one to use for that. But this is a great tactic to use. It's a great win-win. Now we're almost there. We're almost finished our race here. We're post-webinar. So you're going to want to send an instant follow-up, right? When the webinar's over, send something within 24 hours with a link to the deck, a replay, and then, a link to your content offer, right? And you're ideally going to have two versions. You're going to have one for the people who attended and then one for the people who were non-attendees, right? So just switch up the messaging really simply. This is critical. If you can do this, to connect everything into your email and marketing automation CRM. Ideally, your webinar software is connected, so you we can't go into too much detail, of course, but that so you automatically know who's registered, who attended, how long, and so forth. It's fantastic to have all that data to perform analysis. And then also you can use those tools to set up your drip marketing that we talked about, the the post-webinar sequence of emails. It's great to have those all pre-programmed into a workflow. And depending on your software, your marketing automation software, you can do that as a one-to-one sequence. So like HubSpot, you can choose, do I want to make this a sequence and pick and choose the highly qualified prospects that I want to send a one-to-one sequence to, or just a kind of more universal workflow where you send the same stuff to everyone. And then ideally you have on your website a section for your webinar where you can then put it there, becomes evergreen content. Here's an example of HubSpot. You can literally go on almost any B2B website of a major brand and they'll be doing this. And then you kind of have to answer that question, though. Do I want to gate this or do I want to make it free? That's up to you and your business and the type of content. Maybe some you make free, some people have to register for, but something to give thought to. And then you want to dig into the data. This is why if you can have your webinar software plugging into whatever type of platform you're using, whether it's Salesforce, HubSpot, or whatever, so you can get all that data and you can help to sort of analyze it, see, all right, where, how were the registrations, and you can analyze the actual attendee data. Where were people dropping off? Did we have a part of the presentation that was too boring? That was too, did it go too long? Whatever. You can analyze that, and then you use the data to improve. And then, like we said earlier, you repeat the webinar either shortly after, or maybe you do it, again the next quarter, and you use that information to your advantage. The big thing I would say when you're looking at that, the areas that you want to focus to improve on is, we showed you that attendee rate, right? The 30 to 40% attendee rate. Focus more on the denominator. Focus more on getting more registrants, and just sort of know that if you're doing everything right, marketing to the registrants, that you're probably going to have a 30 to 40% attendee rate. So just get more and more registrants. That's where you should really focus. Don't focus too much on how do I get all these people to show up. Just focus more on how do I get on people's calendars and get them registered. That's by far should be your top KPI.
I know that I can see who is in now live attendees, and I can see that many of you guys are in from software houses like IT companies, then you are in the SaaS business, so on and so forth. I can see some of like you have here Garrett, Lukasz, Daniel, so on. If you guys have very specific questions on how to run this for software houses, just plug them in the questions now, and later on we can just take them up and right away answer them. But again, it's very important what Tom said here at the end, and if you stay till this part of the webinar, do it twice, do it 3 times, yeah, because now, for example, we have around 81 people registered in this webinar, and 20 of them came live. Some of them dropped out when we had internet issues, and that's fine, because this is how this is what will happen when you run live webinars. And if you understand that whenever I have a human-to-human connection with you, or one-to-one Zoom, these things might happen, and this is the reality. So we are okay with that. But if you run it, if you learn from those glitches that you might have, and you run the webinar again and again, then you will be better at it, and the whole content and everything that you're delivering is getting better and better, and you're reaching those hot leads, like you guys who are still live here with us. For us, you guys are the very engaged leads that we see you over and over again in our webinars, and you love our content. So this is the um, the leads and the people we want to have um, close, right? So again, run it more than once, and learn from these mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. So all right, so we're getting up at about the hour, but we're closing pretty quickly here with the what we learned recap. So this is the step of summarize everything that you told people, right? So we told you what the basic webinar structure was, the eight elements. We went over some of the key webinar software you can use. We explained the email cadence of how you should be marketing to people to get them to register. We showed you a solid landing page template and what the elements are that should be included in that. Okay, we went over an email shopping list of all the different types of emails from driving registrants to post registry to post webinar. Okay, we went over what the 3 biggest mistakes are that people make. We covered what you want to, the components you want to send for a follow-up, right? Sending the replay link, the deck, and another link to your offer. And then we kind of showed you kind of the big takeaway, right? Is that polls for sales ready leads. So it was pretty meaty for 1 hour in my opinion. I hope you guys agree. So now though, before we get to our offer, and we give you that link, what comes first? I think if you've stuck around, you should probably know, right? We're going to have one final poll question where we're going to ask, does anyone want to chat to us one-on-one, about webinars, right? Are you thinking about doing a webinar for your business, and you just want like, hey, I want to learn more about like what the software is you're using, right? And how that tech stack works, or you have questions about anything, right? This isn't, I know like we're kind of pulling back the curtain and being very upfront with, using marketing terminology like sales ready leads and our funnel, right? And so, but we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. But these are truly like, this is a, we're looking to solicit kind of one-on-one conversations where it's just like, hey, like, let's share some knowledge with you so you can help your business. If we end up working together on something or another, that's awesome. If we just end up helping you guys improve your business, that's great too. So I don't know if you've thrown up the poll question yet, Romeo.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So now that we've kind of got that out of the way, we can go into our cheat sheet, right? So we've got Romeo can kind of paste that link into the chat so you guys can go directly to it. But this is a kind of a UTM shortener program we use. What if you want to? I can't remember if we put that in the cheat sheet or not. What was the tool we used for that?
Sorry?
The URL shortener tool that we use for this.
Yeah, utm.io.
Yeah, UTM.io. So that's a cool little tool. It might be in the cheat sheet. I can't recall. There's a lot of little things.
Yeah, so what we have in the cheat sheet, just to go through it again. So we have first the setup, right? So registration page, what are the whole what you need to do in terms of a copy and features that you need to have there. Thank you page, what you have in the form, and then the post registration workflow. Then we have the invite emails, so that you're inviting people like your whole audience to the webinar, and then reminders, the cold email outlist, so how you set it up, what kind of sequences you do, how many emails you sent out. Then you pop-ups and email signature, and then on social. Later on, we go into live, so how we are actually um, presenting everything, how are the engagement done, what tech stack you use, and what's the content offer. So these are the things here. Then post webinar, like the post webinar emails or the replay and second showing, the sequence emails, and the analysis. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot in there.
yeah, for sure.
So that's it. So here's our, thank you very much. Gracias. Danke slide. Did we get any, Romeo, our Q&A here? We're sort of a little past the hour.
Yeah, so we are waiting now for the Q&A. We had some issues with the internet. The Gabby is thanking us for the content. Nevertheless, we had issues with the live stream, so we will definitely need to live stream it again. For the people, guys, if you have questions, just put it in. I have few questions here. So uh, one question is from let me check it here. Mm, Mikolai says that with Zoom you cannot even autoplay the recordings, meaning you can't record the webinar in advance and then play the recording. So that's a bummer for
Mm.
him. So that's why we would use tools like Crowdcast or Webinar Ninja or Webinar Jam, Mikolai. So you can use that. Uh, Rohit is asking here, where will you place webinar in the marketing funnel? I know a lot depends on the topic, but trending topic just can't become a bottom funnel content. So if you would
Hmm.
like to answer that, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, he's right, right? A lot of it depends on what the content is, and it depends on your business, right? So if you have some type of a really complex sales process, the webinar can be great for beginning of the funnel, just creating awareness, right? When people are in that awareness stage and just need to become aware of a topic and what problem it is you solve. I think it's probably, I would say it's kind of in the awareness, and then mostly maybe the consideration stage of the buyer's journey where people kind of know already. I think people are much more likely to sit down for an hour and attend a webinar when it's, okay, I know, like, for instance, to me, I look at us, this webinar, like, this is good, that middle of the funnel, people that are in their consideration stage, and they're thinking, yeah, I've been thinking about webinars, right? Like, I know we need to do it. We did one, it wasn't so great. I want to learn some more about it. That's probably mostly where webinars are, at least these hybrid, right? So if you're going to do a promotional one, yeah, that's like more bottom of the funnel, people who are at the decision stage, and all you're doing is you've got a list of people who you know are ready to buy whatever it is, the type of product or service it is that you offer, and you can do a little bit more of a promotional webinar. Then then it's more of a bottom of the funnel. But I would say middle consideration stage. I don't know what you think, Romeo.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, depends on if you do something like live streams on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, then should be something on the trending side. So that's something that you want to promote more on the social media. It's if it's more like bottom of the funnel, then you would use Zoom or you would use Crowdcast, but
Yeah.
you only do it there, so you educate the people there. We are doing some kind of hybrid now because we are here interacting with you on Crowdcast, but in the same time is it goes also on the social media. So it all depends what you are sharing. So I hope that answers your question. Now we have here Daniel. What about promoting the webinar on demand after it ends? How would you split the budget between before versus after the webinar? This is a very good one, Daniel. Um, I am a big fan of on demand and promoting more on demand than the live ones, mainly because you can control the frame, you can control these issues of audio, you can control the issues of the internet, so on and so forth, and it can be evergreen, so you can all the time get people in the funnel. We did the same. If you go on learn.mando.digital, you have all the webinars there. And if you think about it, let's think a bit about HubSpot, right? So HubSpot moved from live webinars to the academy.hubspot.com, and they are pushing everything on the academy. And mainly because you can control things, right? So it all depends what kind of customers you have, and if you are a service business, you might want to have more live. If you are a SaaS, you might want to have academy because you can teach people, and it's much easier to do it on demand, right? So in your case, I know you guys are from SaaS, so I would definitely um, try to push more on demand. What are your thoughts, Tom?
I would, yeah, to me, it's one of those things where it's sort of like the other one. It really depends on what you're doing, what your offering is. But I think on demand is great, like you said, for the SaaS model, right? Where it's just more product kind of oriented. So yeah.
So Daniel has another question about the guest speakers. Yeah, what works best to convince them to join as panelists? Example: share the database with the registrants, promote their personal brand, or with the company they work for. What works best? What's your view on here, Tom?
I think Reddit is it's all these questions is terrible because everything kind of leads in with it depends. But I think that when approaching guest speakers, it doesn't matter who your guest speaker is. Every guest speaker you talk to is going to be a human being. So it doesn't matter what the industry is that they're part of or what their role is at a company. So I think if you can approach it where like, hey, where you just make that person feel special and they've got this great knowledge that and hopefully this is all true, right? That they're like this leader in this field and would really be, fantastic if you could join us for this webinar. We'd appreciate, I would lead off kind of with flattery. Is probably the best approach. And then if you need to, then fall back onto, oh yeah, and by the way, we can do some type of a, database sharing. We can promote you. We can elevate your brand. Like, I don't think you want to approach it right away where it's like some sort of bartering swap, right? Where you're kind of cutting a deal. Because now what you're doing is you're creating sort of a market. You're creating like a market encounter, right? You're now introducing like trade, and instead of approaching it like a personal interaction, right? So in a personal dialogue. So I would start off really keeping it as a personal dialogue, and then if it needs to move into more of a market situation where it says, okay, if you do this, we'll do this for you, right? We'll compensate you in some way or another. That would be my advice, right? Is to kind of don't, because you could turn people off by trying to just basically bribe them, right? Like out of the gate, right?
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thanks a lot. So I think that's about it, guys, because we are over 1 hour and 15 minutes with this.
15
We
minutes
are
over.
sorry for the delays in the video, but we will make sure we upload the right recording without the delays, and you can smoothly go through it again. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Thank
Great
you.
stuff.
Yeah,
Thanks a
sure.
lot again, and keep in touch, guys. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.